Hello, I'm here to do another book review, and today I'm talking about The Invasion of the Tearling by Erika Johansen. This is the sequel to The Queen of the Tearling, which came out I think last year, and this one just came out this summer. It is about a girl called Kelsey, and in the first one, just for a quick, fairly spoiler-free update if you haven't read it or you have forgotten because it came out a while ago. In the first book, Kelsey has been raised in isolation, but always knowing she's the heir to the throne. And at the start of the book, she's like, it's time for her to go and become the queen. She hasn't been taught much about what happened during the reign of her mother, the former queen. There's been a region in between, and she, over the course of the book, she finds out some bad stuff that's been happening. She does some things to sort it out. And in doing so, she kind of sets them at war with the neighbouring country. So as you can guess with the title of this book, this is mostly looking at the consequences of that. She is in the kingdom called the Tearling, and the neighbouring country, who I believe is pronounced Mortmesen, that neighbouring kingdom is coming to start an invasion. And basically, Kelsey is trying to figure out if there's anything she can do to stop it or to defeat this army, even though they're wildly, crazily outnumbered. I really enjoyed this one. I read it really quick. I could hardly put it down. The pacing was really good. And with this one, you get to hear a lot about where the Tearling came from. When the country was founded, it was people from Earth, like our Earth, have somehow crossed in this thing. It's called the Crossing with a capital C, anytime they mention it in the book. So people have come to wherever the Tearling is from our Earth. My theory was that they crossed through space to this new world. I don't know other people's theories. When you read this book, you do find out what actually happened. And the way they do that is that it's clearly from a time around now, because they talk about things that they had before the crossing that they no longer have. Like, they're aware of certain things existing, and it certainly seems like in this neighbouring country, that country has a lot more technology. They have books surviving from before the crossing that people brought with them, for example, but in the Tearling they don't have a printing press of any kind anymore, so all the books they do have are old. They're like treasured by people. So it was very interesting to learn more about it. Kelsey has these 2 sapphire jewels that have some magical powers that you get to see a little bit of in the first book, and in this book you see a little more of them. But one thing it's doing is letting Kelsey see into the life of this woman who lived in America before the crossing. So we get flashbacks throughout the book to the life of this woman, Lily, during the time that led up to the crossing. I thought that was really cool. I know there are going to be people hating it, but I thought it was really interesting just because it's a very sharp juxtaposition between the sort of Tudor setting of things in the Tearling versus slightly future from now. I think it's 2060, 2070 is probably the time. Lily was born in 2050 something anyway. So they're kind of not very far away from our current time, and the flashbacks to Lily's point of view. Lily's world is very much a sort of scary dystopian future, but at the same time it's a believable one, I thought, which is very creepy. You don't see what's going on in the world anywhere other than the United States. There is one British character, so they are aware of Britain, but it's a very scary future. Lily does not have a happy story. I really liked having the flashbacks to see it. It was a very sharp contrast between Kelsey's world and Lily's world. So sometimes it took a few seconds to adjust between them, but it was like having a story within a story. I will say just now, I'm not quite sure what the point of it was. It explained where the Tearling came from, but it didn't, to me, from this book, explain why we needed to see that and needed to know it for the story. It was more like I said, a story within the story. My guess and hope is that in the next book, what Kelsey has seen in the past becomes significant, or the events of those last few days in the old world and the crossing to the Tearling, that something there is significant. It definitely gave me a lot of questions, this book, about the sequel. This one was really, really good. It shows how Kelsey is being affected by having to be the ruler, having to step up and make not easy decisions. You get a little bit of romance on her part. I was just growing up and she's around men for basically the first time in her life. I like the choice of person she sort of spends time with in this book, but I can imagine it causing big problems in the future. I don't think it was started for the right reasons. We make bad decisions. People in general make bad decisions occasionally or do things for not the right reason. I hope her romantic interest turns out to be the right thing in the end. Kelsey is you see some of what she's doing with running the kingdom, and different people's advice to her, like the Mace, who is the head of her Queen's Guard, is definitely a big influence on her, and he is not always a big fan of what she's doing. And there were definitely some decisions that she made in this that I was like, why would you do that? But again, she's young. I think it makes sense for her to make decisions. It's believable, it's realistic for her to have made decisions and like past rulings that are maybe not what other people would have done, or people with more experience in the leadership role. So this was a lot of Kelsey finding her feet as a ruler in this book. And characters in the book are not always the happiest with the decisions she makes, and others are. So it's going to be interesting to see how she changes. I think this was sort of a bridging book in a way. It's got the build up to the invasion, and it's got Kelsey developing. It was very, very interesting, and I really liked it, but it's also I'm really excited to see what happens next, now that she's maybe had the learning period. We've had this big build up with the invasion working its way in. So I really want to know where we go from here, especially with where things leave off at the end. It ties up nicely. It's not necessarily a cliffhanger ending, but where Kelsey is at the end of the book, her position, her plot line at the end of the book is definitely leaving her in a place where I really, really need to know what happens to her next, and what's going to go on there. But yeah, overall, I really, really love this book. I highly recommend it. I can't believe I'm going to have to wait a year for the next one to come out now. That's a really long time to have to wait. I also want to show you how gorgeous this book is. Can you see this? All the detail on here to make it kind of look old and scratchy. And then inside, it's just got this beautiful blue for the end papers and stuff. It's lovely. So pretty. It's going to look great on the shelves. Yeah, great book. If you haven't read The Queen of the Tearling yet, definitely go out and read that one as soon as you can, and then read this one. And then talk to me about it, because I really need to talk to people about this book. But yes, 5 out of 5 for this book, Invasion of the Tearling by Erika Johansen. That's it for me for today. I will talk to you soon. Bye!